welcome to the channel Jane Reads. My name is Jeanette and I'm going to try something different today. I am going to try to record with my webcam so that I can look at my computer and talk about stats and I can see my spreadsheet. So I have my reading journal here with my reading goals and a bunch of extra papers in the front. Okay, so with my reading goals, I have colored in the ones that are complete, but I just checked the last two that I haven't colored in yet, and they are complete as well. So my first goal was to read 125 books. Well, I ended the year with 158 books. My second goal was to read 25 books on my TBR bingo board, and I'm going to put aside these extra papers. And my bingo board is here. It is complete. My next goal was to read 25 books on my rereads bingo board, which is this one, and it is complete. Then goal number 4 was to make progress in 25 series. So for my series, I got two different spreadsheets here. Series. So I don't have the total number of books of series right. I mean, I could add these up, but so I started 27 series. I read 45 books that were sequels to a series. I read 17 books that were the series finisher, the last book in the series. Out of those, so we've got 27, 45, 17. That is 89 books that were part of series. And during those series, there was 18 series that I made progress in. There were 7 series that I am caught up as much as I can be until the next book is released. And I finished 17 series. So yeah, I totally completed that goal. Okay, the next one was to read 5 books purchased prior to 2020. And I read Good Enough for a Princess by Carol Macedo. Wow. Love Finds You in Miracle, Kentucky by Andrea Broshauer. The Importance of Being Earnest by Oscar Wilde. To Save Her Child by Margaret Daly. And Rodeo Rescuer by Lynette Eason. But I only read 5 that I purchased prior to 2020. So this is a goal that is carrying over. Then goal number 6 was to read 5 authors to 0. I read Rachel Fordham, Danny Petrie, Lynn H. Blackburn, Amy Lynn Green, and Sarah Sundin. So that goal is complete. Then it was to participate in 5 yearly reading challenges. Well, I participated in my own, the Christian Fiction Challenge, and completed that one. I completed Oshina's Christian Romance Challenge. I completed the Go With The Flow Challenge that was hosted by Sarah's Nightstand and Bookish Blonde. Then I completed the Read Your Bookshelf Challenge hosted by Chantel. And then I completed the Buzz Word Challenge hosted by Kayla at Books and Lala. Those are the only ones I fully completed, I'm pretty sure. Let me look at my challenge section. So in my challenges, here is my challenge graphic. Then the Go With The Flow, and I just wrote the book names below. Then Oshina's challenge, Chantel's challenge, the Buzzword Challenge, and then we had Katie's Princess Bride-a-thon. Where is it? I'm missing this one. That is a book over 500 pages. Yeah, that did not happen. And I have Alma's A Journey Through Time, The only one I'm missing is 1980s. I did not read any books that were set in 1980s. I didn't even, do I have a book that was published in the 80s? I didn't even look at that. Maybe. Then I've got Amanda's Southern Comfort Challenge, and I did not put anything in for November, a book that explores themes of comfort. I didn't know what to put there. I probably read something that would fit. I just couldn't think of anything. And yeah, that is all the challenges. Okay, then we have goal number 8 was to participate in 5 readathons, and I blew this out of the water. I co-hosted Epistolary January last January, again this year as well. I took part in the Read in the New Year challenge, which was hosted by Holly and Oshina, which is the week-long readathon, 10-day, I think it was a week long. Then I participated in the mini deck of TBR hosted by Becca and Chloe. And again, that was another week, 2-week long. It was just not a full month readathon. I participated in Amanda's Southern Charm readathon in May. I participated in the deck of TBR-a-thon that took place in July. That was a full month-long readathon. I co-hosted the Keep Me in Suspense readathon in August with Caitlin from Chronicles of a Book Nerd. I took part in series September. Took part in Katie's Journey, no, not Journey Through Time. What's it called? It was in October. Why can I not think of it? Journey Through the Bible. I knew it had Journey in it. So yeah, I totally did that. Okay, then goal number 9 was to participate in 5 group reads, and I participated in Tammy from Protagonist Pub in her book club for a few months, and through that I read Persuasion by Jane Austen, Emily of New Moon by Ellen Montgomery, The Road to Paradise by Karen Barnett. Then I participated in Krista's from Books and Jams, her Christian read-along, and I participated in the Case for Christ, and I took part in her online discussion with that. And then I participated in Chantel's Year of Maud, where we read all 8 Anna Green Gable books, as well as a couple other Ellen Montgomery books. There were 2 months I did not read an Ellen Montgomery book. 1 month they were reading The Blue Castle, and I just read it last year, so I did not participate in that one. And then I did not participate in December's, which was just a free choice for Ellen Montgomery, and I just didn't. But I mean, I read 10 Ellen Montgomery books with Chantel, so I'm counting that as complete. And then my last goal is to read every day, and I did that. Where's my daily tracker? Oh, look, more extra pages. This is what happens when I don't put enough pages in my reading journal. And that is complete. Okay, so stats overall. As I mentioned, I read 158 books. So that worked out to an average of 13 books per month. Here's a little graph. Not quite sure where it's going to go to kind of see. September was my lowest read month, but we were away on vacation for 2 weeks, and I don't tend to read when we're away because we're very busy doing stuff. Yeah. Okay. Then, so that 158 books, according to my spreadsheet, it works out to 48,092 pages. According to Goodreads, it is 50,000 and something. I'm going to see if I can pull up my Goodreads year-in books. But that's because when I record the page count, I don't include, where the book ended. I don't include any of the other stuff at the end of the book, whereas I think Goodreads is just the full number of pages in the book, right? Yeah, okay. So according to Goodreads, it is 50,029 pages. And according to Goodreads, my shortest book was A Royal Wonderland by Liz Johnson at 88 pages. My longest book is Emily of New Moon by Ellen Montgomery at 432 pages. My average book worked out to 304 pages. According to my spreadsheet, according to Goodreads, is 316 pages. So, I mean, relatively close. My most shelved book is Anne of Green Gables, surprise, surprise, at 1,972,000. And my least shelved book is Out of Time by Lynn H. Blackburn. This is just a little novella that had been released in a collection and then was re-released as a standalone novella. And there are only 203 people have shelved it. My average rating, according to Goodreads, is 3.9. And this is where it gets a little bit interesting. So my average rating, according to my spreadsheet, is 308. But that could be because I don't record half stars. And so I might have rounded down on my spreadsheet and rounded up on Goodreads, or the opposite way. So we'll see. I gave 26 books 5 stars, 81 books 4 stars, 45 books 3 stars, and 5 books 2 stars. I did not DNF any books, which is not a surprise because I don't tend to DNF much. There was one I thought about, but I didn't. Let's see. Out of the 158 books, 38 of them were rereads, which is actually a little bit lower than I thought it would be. And so that's 24% of my reads were books I had read previously. Now, granted, like I had read all the Anne of Green Gables series before, so there's 8 books already, right? Which is why it's lower than I thought it was. So that means that 76% of my books, or 120 of my books, were first-time reads for me. So that was pretty interesting. Let's see, what else? Out of those books, I physically own them, or I own them on my Kindle, 62 of the books. And I borrowed 49 books, and I had 11 advanced reader copies. So that works out to 68% of books were books from my shelf. 25% were acquired somewhere else, and 7% were advanced reader copies. Okay, what was my most read genre? This one was really kind of interesting, but then it was like, really? So according to my spreadsheet, it says, now I should say, before I say this, I should say the categories I have are classic, contemporary romance, dual timeline, general fiction, historical romance, historical suspense. So, I mean, I have 3 historical categories, okay? Legal fiction, mystery, suspense, like there's not really romance in it. Nonfiction. Wow, that number's higher than I thought it would be. Oh, that's because of the All Creatures Great and Small series. Romantic suspense, and then women's fiction, which really should go in the general fiction. Okay, so I have a few subcategories, right, that probably could be grouped together, should be grouped together, but I'd like to know kind of my fiction, romance versus historical, or my historical fiction versus my fictional romance. Wow, I cannot say that. My historical fiction versus my historical romance. Because, like, do I prefer it with romance or without romance? And that answer to that question is I prefer it with romance. Okay. So according to those various breakdowns, my most read genre is contemporary romance. And I was like, no, it can't be. It cannot be. So then I grouped the genres together a little bit more. And so then I've got classic. Wait, what? Huh? I'm like, I just found an error on my spreadsheet. Now I'm going to check the other numbers. It said I read one classic, and I'm like, that's not correct because right there it says I read 13 classics. Huh? Okay, let's try. Just double check this. Okay, we're good. I don't know what happened there. Okay, so my genres, when I group them together. So, classic, I read 13 classics, so that's 8%. I read 35 contemporary romance, which is still higher than I would like it to be. That's 22%. I read 6 books that fit in the dual timeline, so they could be both historical, like both timelines could be historical, but both timelines, one could be historical, one could be contemporary, so that's why they're kind of its own little category there. I read 6 of those, so almost 4%. Then mystery suspense. So this is, I've grouped mystery and suspense with romantic suspense. So they may have romance, they may not have romance. I read 36 of those, so that's 23%. I read 7 nonfiction books, which is pretty much majority of the All Creatures Great and Small collection by James Herriot. I did read The Case for Christ as nonfiction, but yeah. So that is 4.5%. And then everything else, I read 5 of them, that's 3%. So what category did I miss? Did you notice which category I missed? So my most read genre is historical fiction at 56 books at 35% or 36%. So here's the graph. Again, I'm not sure which side it'll be on, but here's the graph that shows that. So we have historical, then suspense, and then contemporary romance. But out of those 3 categories, how do my ratings stack up? So I calculate, so it said my average rating overall is 3.8 to 3.9, depends if I base it on my star ratings on my spreadsheet or on Goodreads star ratings. But it's in that. So contemporary romance is 30 or 3.8 is my average star rating. Suspense is 3.94 for my average star rating. And historical is 4. So really, my best read genre is historical. Then it comes into suspense, and then contemporary romance, which I was not surprised at all, especially if you saw my book bracket video, because historical really won in that. Overall, the final book, interesting. The final book has a mix of historical and contemporary, but really not that historical compared to a lot of the historical ones I read. Because a lot of the historical I read are World War II fiction. But yeah, that's interesting. Okay, what other stats should I share? Let's look authors. So as I said, I read a lot of L.M. Montgomery because I read through the Anne of Green Gables series plus others. So my most read author was not a surprise to me at all. It is L.M. Montgomery with 11 books. Because not only did I read with Chantel's Year of Maud, one of the books with Tammy's book club was also an L.M. Montgomery book. So yeah. So I read 11 books by L.M. Montgomery. My next highest read author is, there's 3 of them tied with the same number. I read 7 books from Karen Witemeyer, Sarah Sundin, and Terry Blackstock. I'm actually surprised that Terry Blackstock is up there. But I was trying to read, those are authors I'm trying to read to zero. And I did complete Sarah Sundin. And I am very, very close to completing Karen Witemeyer. Have not quite got to Terry Blackstock. I'm closer until I discover some other books that she released years ago that I wasn't aware of. So now my list is fully complete of what I need to read. Then we have Lynn H. Blackburn, another author 2.0. Lynette Eason, another one I'm working on 2.0, but also one of my favorite authors. Shanna Hatfield, I actually read more from her than I thought I had this year. I read 6 books. I missed. Oops. Sorry, my second highest author is actually Liz Johnson with 8 books. So she beats out all the 3 that had 7. Again, she's another author I was trying to read to 0. I'm very, very close. I have 1 book at this time left. And then Becky Wade has 5 books. And again, another author to 0. So they were really, my focus is my authors to 0 were really the ones. The only one that is not on that list, well, the only 2, is Alan Montgomery and Shanna Hatfield are both higher, like with more than 5 books. And they're not on my authors to 0 list. Okay, another interesting. Where are most of my books set? So I read 16 books that were set in England. That is my most read setting. Then I read 15 books that were set in PEI. Again, this is where the Anne of Green Gables really, there's 8 of those there. But I mean, the Liz Johnson books, a lot of them were set in PEI that I read as well. So that is but it's still, England's still my number 1. So 16 for England, 15 for PEI. Then what is my most read American state? Again, doing the book bracket, this was like, I read a lot of books from this state. And that is New York. And majority of those, I would say, were set in New York City. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And then my next highest, so that was 10 for New York. Then North Carolina was 9. Again, that's Lynn H. Blackburn, I would say. And probably Lynn H. Blackburn over Lynette Eason. They're probably, yeah. So, yeah, that was interesting to me. But England, I guess, still has my heart. Yeah. Okay, so, okay, book purchases. I'm like looking at my spreadsheet and trying to figure out what else can I share from this. Actually, before we get to book purchases, so I read from 72 different authors. That's pretty good for 158 books, honestly. And out of those 72 authors, 17 of them were new to me. I never read from them before. And the one that sticks out to me the most is Michelle Shockley. I read her for the first time this year. And then I read 2 other books by her. So I read 3 books by her. And she was a new to me author this year. That's the one that sticks out to me. And book purchases. So I either bought them, were given them, I guess that's the 2. I personally paid for them. I was given them by gifts by various people, or like advance reader copies count in that category as well. But I acquired a total of 117 books this year. However, out of those 117 books, only 58 of them are still on my unread TBR shelf. That's pretty good, I think. Like, wow. So where is my... So I had a TBR tracker. How many books did I have? And let me find it. Okay. So my TBR book balance is what I called it. So I started the year with 134 unread books between my physical shelf and my Kindle. At the end of the year, I ended with 131 unread books. And 58 of those 131 I brought in 2025. But I was like, hey, it's 3 less, because my goal has always been 130. I don't know why. That's just, I set it at that. And actually, it's been pretty good. Like to end the year, so I'm starting 2026 at 131. That's pretty good. Okay, so those are all my stats. If I haven't shared anything that you're really curious on, let me know. I'm going to try to insert graphics of where I talk about them. I think that's it. I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and I hope this has been interesting to you and not boring. I do plan on sharing my spreadsheet at some point so you can see how I track my books and how I get some of these graphics. Some of them I had to do yesterday to try to figure out, but overall, this has been fun. And I'm curious. But I don't have that open. I'm curious how that compares to last year, what my average rating was last year. But yeah, I'm pretty intrigued that historical fiction has become my most read genre because I used to avoid it for years. It was always suspense. And I am not shocked that contemporary romance is my lowest rated genre. I'm shocked at the number of contemporary romance. I guess I just keep trying. I guess I just keep trying and having faith that, oh, I'll enjoy this more. And it's like, and then I'm like, yeah, no. I should stick to what I like, right? I was talking to my BFF last night, and she's like, why do you read so many classics when you don't enjoy them? I'm like, well, because I'm trying to broaden my horizons. And yeah, but yeah, that's a really good question because if I know I'm not going to enjoy them, why? It's like, why am I torturing myself? They're not torture. I mean, some of them I have enjoyed. Like Anne of Green Gables book number 5 was a top favorite for the year. So like I'm not, there are some I enjoy. But when we talked about that, we actually talked about that during our conversation last night, that book number 5 was my favorite and book number 8 was really good as well. But what did it include? And when we talked about book number 8, Rilla of Ingleside, we're getting into World War One and dealing with the war and kind of the impact and the maturity of people. And I'm like, interesting, because World War One, World War Two are the historical fictions that I tend to read a lot. So yeah, kind of interesting when I think about that. Okay, that is enough rambling for today. I'm going to let you go. And thank you for watching. And I would love it if you would like and subscribe to my channel if you're not already. And come back for future videos. Have a great day. Bye.